Welcome back to Never Don't Ask with me, John Martin, and we have another station review. So I've been visiting small stations recently and not a huge amount of views. So I think I need to follow the numbers. We got big numbers recently at Birmingham, Snow Hill, Waterloo in Merseyside, and Stourbridge Town. So I guess we need to try harder. And what is more try than Rugby? We're in Warwickshire for the Avanti Run station of, well, I said it earlier, Rugby. Hit the titles. The entrance to Rugby Station is off Railway Terrace, which is off Mill Road, which becomes Murray Road just metres later. The station is to the northeast of the town centre. Rugby Station sits as a junction on the West Coast Main Line heading north. The line splits between the route to Birmingham, with Coventry the next station, 11.5 miles away, and the Trent Valley Line with Nuneaton 15.5 miles away. Heading south, the main West Coast Main Line has Wolverton as the next stop, and that's a smidge over 30 miles away, while Northampton Loop along Buckley Station at 9.5 miles away. The story of Rugby Station begins at the very dawn of the railway age, when Britain was still inventing the idea of a national rail network. On the 9th of April 1838, the London and Birmingham Railway opened its first station at Rugby, with part of an ambitious route between London and the Midlands. The earliest station was only a temporary wooden structure built slightly west of today's site. At first, engineering difficulties, most notably the Kilsby Tunnel, meant that trains could not run the full distance, and passengers had to complete part of the route by road. On the 17th of September 1838, through services finally operated between London and Birmingham. Rugby's importance increased dramatically in 1840, when the Midland Counties Railway connected into the town. This turned Rugby into a genuine junction. The Midlands Counties line ran north from Rugby towards Leicester, Loughborough and Derby, linking into Nottingham and the wider East Midlands, while also connecting back towards Birmingham. For a time, Rugby stood at the crossroads of two major developing networks. One focused on London and the West Coast, the other on the industrial Midlands. The Midlands Counties Railway itself did not remain independent for long. In 1844, it merged with neighbouring lines to form the Midland Railway. As this larger company expanded, it developed alternative routes and reduced its reliance on Rugby, and the former Midland Counties lines through the town gradually became less significant, increasingly serving regional rather than trunk traffic. Meanwhile, the West Coast route was growing in importance. In 1846, the London and Birmingham Railway became part of the London and North Western Railway, and in 1847, the London and North Western opened the Trent Valley Railway. This provided a faster, more direct route from Rugby to Stafford, Crewe and the North West, bypassing Birmingham, which was to become more and more fashionable in transport circles. With this development, Rugby became a key divergence point on a national scale, south to London, west to Birmingham, and north via the Trent Valley. Rugby to Leamington Spa Railway was authorised in 1846 and opened on the 1st of March 1851 by the Rugby and Leamington Railway Company. It's original, isn't it? Before quickly being absorbed by the London North Western Railway, it provided a direct link between Rugby and Leamington Spa, serving the intermediate communities and forming part of a wider expansion of railways towards the Midlands. The Rugby and Stamford Railway opened up from Rugby, heading east, linking to the Midlands line to Peterborough. This opened up in 1850. A more direct line was opened, allowing LNER to get to Peterborough. By the late 19th century, the growing complexity and volume of traffic, particularly on the London North Western, meant that the existing station was no longer adequate. In 1882, the LNWR authorised the complete rebuilding of Rugby Station, and on the 5th of July 1885, the new station was opened. This was a major engineering project designed to cope with the heavy junction traffic and operational demands of a railway that had become one of the busiest in Britain. A key feature of the 1885 rebuild was the expansion of platform capacity. Additional platforms were constructed to separate different flows of traffic: long-distance mainline services, the Trent Valley trains, local and branch services, allowing trains to pass through the station more efficiently. The layout was carefully arranged to reduce conflicting movements at the junction, reflecting Rugby's role as a place where multiple important routes converged and diverged. Equally significant was the treatment of the station's roof. LNWR provided an overall roof covering the main platforms, creating a large enclosed typical train shed of the major Victorian stations. This roof not only protected passengers from the elements, but symbolised Rugby's importance within the network. Its design combined practical iron and glass construction with the imposing scale expected of a principal junction. However, over time, this original roof would be altered and partly removed, particularly during the 20th century modernisation, as maintenance costs and changing operational needs led to a more open platform arrangement. What survives today, therefore, is a mixture of the original LNWR structures and later modifications, reflecting successive phases of rebuilding rather than a single preserved design. Competition returned in 1899 when the Great Central Railway opened its own line through Rugby, complete with Rugby Central Station. For several decades, the town was served by the two stations operated by rival companies, though the LNWR and later London Midland Scottish Station remained the principal hub for long-distance services. In 1923, the railway companies were grouped together into larger organisations. Rugby's main station passed into London Midland Scottish Railway, LMS, while Rugby Central became part of the London and North Eastern Railway. Nationalisation followed in 1948 under British Railways, and the station in 1950 was renamed Rugby Midland to distinguish it from its neighbour. Modernisation gathered place in the mid-20th century. Signalling was upgraded in 1939 with the introduction of coloured lights replacing semaphore signals, and in 1964 a power signal box was opened as part of the electrification of West Coast Main Line. These changes reinforced Rugby's role as a high-capacity junction, especially for trains on the Trent Valley route. Passenger services on the Leamington Spa route were withdrawn in 1959, and sections of the line were subsequently closed to freight and dismantled in the years that followed. As a result, the original railway ceased to exist as a continuous route, leaving only fragments or repurposed sections, while its former role as a regional transport has been taken over by alternative connections. The 1960s brought rationalisation. The closure of the Great Central Line led to the loss of the Rugby Central Station in 1969, and the following year, on 4th of May 1970, Rugby Midland reverted to the simpler name of Rugby, once again becoming the town's sole station. By this point, the former Midland Counties route through Rugby had largely faded in importance, overshadowed by the main West Coast and Trent Valley lines. The line to Peterborough was closed in the 1960s as Beeching saw it as unnecessary duplication. In the modern era, under ownership of Network Rail, Rugby has undergone further transformation. Between 2006 and 2008, as part of the West Coast mainline upgrade, the station was extensively remodelled, new platforms were added, and the track layout was simplified to separate fast and slow services. A new station building was constructed. These works echoed, in a modern form, the intentions of the 1885 rebuild to manage complex high-volume traffic at a crucial junction. Today, Rugby Station stands as a result of 2 centuries of change. From its beginnings as a temporary halt in 1838, it developed into a major junction shaped by competing railway companies, shifting traffic patterns, and a repeated rebuilding. The expansion of its platforms and the evolution of its roof from a grand Victorian train shed to a more open, modern arrangement tell the story of a station that continually adapting to demands of the network around it, while the enduring importance of the Trent Valley Railway ensures its place at the heart of Britain's railway system. There are 6 platforms here. Platform 1 sits on a side platform and it is 270 metres long at the southern under the station. It is mainly served by trains on the route towards Birmingham, but can serve other northbound services. Platforms 2, 3 and 4 are on the main island. Between platforms 1 and 2 there is a through line. Platform 2 is another northbound through platform. It is 348 metres. Platform 3 is a south-facing bay, which is 196 metres long. There is another siding next to it. Platform 4 is a through platform generally used by southbound trains. It is 358 metres long. At the north end of this island, there used to be 4 bay platforms, but the tracks have been removed. Platform 5 and 6 are on their own island. Generally, platform 6 is less used than other platforms. Platform 5 is 300 metres long. Platform 6 is 190. North of these are holding lines, which have some trains stored there when I was there. There is a subway under the station linking the platforms. Platform 1 is reached direct from the ticket office, while the other platforms have access from the subway. Our friends at the Department of Transport Classification Team call this a C1 category station, an important feeder. Is that your whole team that does categorisation? That's a question. Marks for services, 6 out of 10. The services here are provided by Avanti and London North Western. No, not that one, but another one. Avanti services are 1 an hour each way on each route. The London to Euston to Birmingham service sees trains reach Milton Keynes in 20 minutes and Euston in an hour. Coventry is 10 minutes away and Birmingham just under 25. The Euston to Manchester service has Stoke 40 minutes away and Manchester is an hour 20. There are 2 London North Western trains an hour in each direction between Birmingham and Euston. These run via Northampton. Euston is 85 minutes away, Northampton 22 minutes away, Birmingham is 40. There is also the hourly service that runs between Crewe and Euston. This train runs stopping only once on the way to Euston, so has similar times towards Euston as Avanti. However, this service stops at all the Trent Valley stations, aside from Polesworth mainly. Tamworth is 25 minutes away, Stafford just under 50, and Crewe an hour 10. Delving into the 24-25 figures, the most popular destination is London Euston with 427,064 journeys, followed by Birmingham New Street, Coventry, Milton Keynes Central and Birmingham International. We had 2,392,296 entries and exits, which average out to 6,554 passengers a day. There were 1,237 scheduled services a week, so maths drop out at just over 37 passengers per service. However, when we add in the passengers changing trains, we have a passenger figure of 7,020 per day, which gives us 42.5 passengers per train. Passenger numbers were increasing year on year until COVID, and we have them increasing again, but we are not up to the pre-COVID levels. Marks for onward travel, 3 out of 5. The bus routes 1 and 2 run hourly from Brownsover north of Rugby to the distribution centres to the east of the town. Route 5 runs from Brownsover every 15 minutes toward Rugby town centre and on to Colestown to the southwest of Rugby. The 4A runs a similar route a few times in the evening. The 8 and 8A are hourly services that loop around the town and terminate at Newbold north of the town. The 8B runs from Long Lawford in the west to Overlaid in the south. The 96 and the 96A run between Rugby and Northampton, with the 96S running only part way, stopping at the distribution centre. Most of the services from the station do run to the town centre, which is a bonus as the town centre is 20 minutes walk away. Marks for accessibility, 9 out of 10. We have a lot going for us here. All platforms can be reached by lift. There are also ramps to the main island. The station is staffed, there are announcements and there are displays, as well as an assistant meeting point at the ticket office. There is a Avanti customer service office on the main island. Marks for station facilities, 6 out of 10. All 3 platforms have waiting rooms. We have a full ticket office at the entrance, along with WH Smith's. The newer platforms have seating and covered seating, but are fairly simple affairs. The main island has larger waiting areas and more covered seating. For major interchange, there are few facilities inside the gate line with just a few vending machines. We have cycle storage here. There are two station car parks either side of Murray Road. Both are flat parking lots. The Rugby multi-storey car park is to the north of the railway. It has BR arrows on it, so gets counted in the number of spaces. So the bizarre font of misinformation that is the National Rail website says there are over 700 spaces here. Marks for care and character, 17 out of 20. This station has a lot going for it. The front entrance to the new platforms are simple affairs. The subway linking the platforms has an artwork paying tribute to the town's history. Onto the main island, we have plenty of planters with a variety of themes. We have a sculpture of a rugby ball lurking around. And while out of use at the moment, some of the rooms here have amazing tiled floors. The most memorable feature of the station is the tubular framework that supports a canopy. I've not seen anything else like it in the country, and it makes the place stand out more. It's quirky, doesn't quite fit in with the rest of the carriage around the station, but I like it. What do you think? Staff I encountered here are friendly, which is an added plus. Marks for nearby things, 3 out of 10. There's a Tesco's Express just a few minutes walk from the station. Beyond that, there's a travel lodge. Having stayed there, I'd like to compliment the late night team for keeping the restaurant open and the quality of the food. However, the morning team were rude and humiliated me by trying to kick me out of the breakfast despite it being paid for. They just hadn't bothered to check my booking properly. The Wi-Fi, as in common with many travel lodges, was both paid for and absolutely rubbish, so I couldn't show them my booking. At a short totter down Abbey Street opposite the station, you get to the track bed of the old Great Central, which is now a delightful footpath through a load of greenery. However, the centre of Rugby is a 20-minute walk away. Overall, we get 44 out of 65, working out at 68%. This is a station of contrast. The central island was designed when stations were there to serve the passengers, while the new platforms were built to facilitate customers. Overall, facilities are slightly lacking. While this sits at the junction of 4 routes, most trains pass us by. One significant issue is reaching West Coast mainline stations north of Crewe, as Avanti's trains from Rugby either go to Birmingham, where they then have to change and get the slow Avanti up towards Crewe in Scotland, or Manchester, where there are no other Avanti connections. The fastest way to Stafford and Crewe is via London North Western, and if you have an Avanti only ticket, that's going to be an issue. If you want to visit the sites of Rugby, then prepare for a walk and choose a hotel that isn't the one next to the station. What do you think about Rugby Station? And where do you think we're going to go next? Put your answers in the comments. Thanks once again for watching this as I travel around the country. Please like, subscribe and ring that bell to be notified of the next station review.